Eli woke up with the first rays of sunlight spilling into his small room. The colony's metal walls were still cold, but the morning light made everything look alive. Today, like every other day, he would have breakfast and help his father in the fields. But something in the air made him restless. He could feel it, a strange pull, like the planet itself wanted him to notice something. He dressed quickly, slipping into his worn boots and jacket. Outside the colony was quiet. Most humans were still asleep, their small houses huddled together against the alien wilderness. The distant forests shimmered under the morning mist, and the rivers reflected light in strange colors. Eli loved this planet, even though it could be dangerous. He had learned early to respect it. As he wandered near the edge of the colony, he saw it. A small animal, glowing faintly with a blue light, darted between the alien trees. Its fur, or whatever covered it, seemed almost liquid, flowing with the light. It had long, slender legs and eyes that shone like tiny crystals. Eli froze, his heart pounding. No way. He whispered to himself. He had never seen anything like this before. Scientists in the colony had cataloged hundreds of species, but nothing like this. It looked almost intelligent, almost like it knew he was watching. The creature paused and looked at him. For a moment, Eli thought it might run away, but it didn't. Instead, it turned and began to move deeper into the forest. Curiosity burned inside him. He knew he shouldn't follow it. Adults always said never to go too far into the alien wilds, alone, but he couldn't resist. Eli ran after the glowing animal, keeping low behind trees and rocks. The creature didn't hurry, but it seemed to move with purpose. Eli noticed the forest around him was strange in ways he had never realized. Trees with translucent leaves hummed softly, as if whispering secrets. Stones floated a few inches above the ground, spinning slowly. Even the wind felt alive, brushing against him with a strange warmth. After a while, Eli realized he had gone much farther than he expected. The colony was no longer visible. He stopped to catch his breath, his chest heaving. "Where are you taking me?" he asked the creature. The animal turned briefly and seemed to nod, or maybe Eli was imagining it. Then it bounded ahead again, and Eli followed. They moved deeper into the forest where the air grew warmer and the light shimmered in colors he had never seen. Strange flowers opened as they passed, glowing faintly. Tiny creatures, some with wings like glass, flew around them. Eli felt like he had entered another world entirely. At one point, the creature stopped at the edge of a small stream. The water glowed a soft green, and Eli could see small fish swimming, leaving trails of light behind them. The animal bent down and drank, then looked up at him as if to say, "Come on." Eli laughed nervously. Okay, I'm coming." He followed the creature through the stream, carefully stepping on the stones that floated above the water. Every step felt magical, like he was walking on something alive. He wondered if the planet was alive itself, guiding him toward something important. Hours seemed to pass. The sun climbed higher in the sky, but Eli barely noticed. The forest changed as they moved deeper. Trees became taller, with roots that twisted like serpents. Strange plants released puffs of colored mist when touched. Every sound felt amplified. The rustle of leaves, the hum of insects, the soft patter of his own boots. Finally, they reached a small clearing. The creature stopped in the center and looked at Eli. It tilted its head and made a soft, melodic sound. Eli had no idea what it meant, but it made him feel calm and safe. Then he saw it, a large glowing stone at the center of the clearing. It pulsed with light, almost like a heartbeat. Eli felt a strange warmth in his chest, drawn to the stone. He took a cautious step closer. "Wow," he whispered. The stone had symbols etched into it, glowing faintly. They were not like human writing, but somehow Eli understood them. Images flashed in his mind, visions of forests, rivers, creatures, and humans working together. It was as if the planet itself was telling a story. The glowing animal stepped closer to the stone, and Eli realized it was not just leading him here randomly. It had guided him to something important, something humans had never seen before. He knelt beside the stone, running his fingers over the symbols. A warm energy flowed into him, filling him with a sense of wonder and excitement. For the first time, he felt connected to the planet in a way he couldn't explain. It was like he belonged here, not just as a human visitor, but as part of the world itself. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the clearing, a low hum that vibrated through the air. Eli looked around, heart racing. The forest seemed to respond to the stone, to the animal, to him. The hum grew louder, then faded into a soft melody. Eli felt like he was part of a secret, a story that had been waiting for him for centuries. He turned to look at the animal. Its eyes glowed brighter, and it made the same melodic sound again. Eli laughed softly. "You're incredible," he said. "I don't even know who you are." The creature nudged his hand gently, then turned and looked toward the forest again. Eli understood. It wanted him to follow further, to explore more of the planet's secrets. His heart jumped with excitement, but then he remembered something: his father, the colony, the rules. He couldn't stay out here forever. He had to return and tell someone. But the thought of leaving the creature and the stone behind made him hesitate. For a moment, Eli felt torn. Adventure called to him, but so did duty. Finally, he made a decision. He would return to the colony for now, but he would come back. This was too important, too magical to leave behind. He took a deep breath, memorized the path they had taken, and started back toward the edge of the forest. The glowing animal followed him part way, then paused at the clearing. Its eyes seemed to say, "Go now, but come back soon." Eli waved, feeling a mix of sadness and excitement. "I will," he promised. By the time he reached the colony, the sun was high in the sky. The air felt normal again, the hum of the forest replaced by the distant sounds of human life. Eli slipped back into his home, trying to look casual. But inside, he was buzzing with energy. At breakfast, his father noticed something different in him. "You look like you've seen something incredible," he said. Eli smiled, but said nothing. He couldn't explain it yet. No one would understand. Not until he returned to the forest. He finished his meal quickly and helped his father in the fields, but his mind kept drifting back to the glowing creature, the stone, and the secret it had led him to. Something told him that this was only the beginning, that the planet had chosen him for something greater. Eli could not stop thinking about the glowing animal and the stone in the clearing. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw the symbols pulsing with light and felt the warm energy flowing through him. That evening, he sat by his window, watching the alien forest sway under the setting sun. He knew he had to go back. Something deep inside told him the creature had chosen him for a reason, and the planet had secrets it wanted him to discover. The next morning, before anyone else woke, Eli slipped quietly from his home. The colony was still asleep, and the air was crisp and fresh. He followed the path he had memorized the day before, moving carefully through the edge of the forest. His heart pounded with excitement, but also with a hint of fear. He was venturing into the unknown alone, and he knew the planet could be dangerous. It did not take long for him to spot the glowing animal. It was perched on a floating rock above a small river, its eyes shining like stars. The moment it saw him, it made the melodic sound again, almost like a call to follow. Eli nodded, understanding perfectly. He stepped onto the riverbank, careful to balance on the stones that hovered above the water. As they moved deeper into the forest, Eli noticed the world around him had changed. Trees towered higher, their trunks twisting in impossible shapes. Vines hung down, pulsing with faint light, and strange flowers opened and closed as if breathing. The air smelled sweet, almost like honey mixed with something metallic. Every sound seemed alive: the soft rustle of leaves, the distant calls of alien creatures, the hum of the planet itself. Eli's mind raced with wonder. He had read about bioluminescent plants and animals, but nothing in the colony's textbooks could prepare him for this. Here the planet seemed to be alive in a way humans had never imagined. Each step he took felt like part of a story written long before humans arrived. The glowing animal led him to a patch of glowing mushrooms. When Eli stepped near them, they lit up brighter, forming a faint path. He followed, careful not to touch them too roughly. Suddenly, a small creature darted out from the undergrowth. It looked like a tiny fox, but its fur shimmered in rainbow colors, and its eyes glowed faintly. Eli froze. The fox-like creature sniffed the air, then ran away without noticing him. Eli laughed softly, heart still racing. "This place is full of surprises," he whispered. The glowing animal made its melodic sound again, as if agreeing. Hours passed as they moved through the forest. Eli discovered plants that sang when touched, vines that seemed to react to his presence, and stones that floated and spun gently in the air. Sometimes he caught glimpses of other small creatures, some curious, some cautious. He learned quickly how to move quietly and watch without disturbing them. At one point, they reached a steep hill covered with glowing moss. The animal bounded up easily, but Eli had to pull himself up using the vines. When he reached the top, he saw a breathtaking view. The forest stretched endlessly, rivers shining like silver threads, and strange floating islands hovering in the distance. Eli felt both small and incredibly alive. He had never imagined the planet could be this vast and magical. Suddenly, the glowing animal stopped and looked back at him. It made a low, melodic sound that seemed urgent. Eli followed its gaze and saw movement in the distance. A large shadow passed between the trees, a creature unlike anything he had seen before. It had multiple legs, wings that shimmered like glass, and eyes that reflected light like mirrors. Eli's heart pounded. He had to hide. He crouched behind a glowing bush, watching the massive creature pass. It did not notice him moving gracefully through the forest. Eli realized that this planet had layers of life humans had never explored. Some creatures were dangerous, some friendly, and some ancient, carrying wisdom in ways humans could not yet understand. The glowing animal nudged him gently, encouraging him to continue. Eli followed cautiously, keeping his eyes open for danger. They entered a narrow valley filled with glowing plants that reached high above his head. The valley was alive with movement. Small flying creatures zipped past, and strange sounds echoed from the walls. Eli felt a thrill of excitement. Each step he took brought him closer to the secrets the planet wanted to reveal. After some time, they reached a small stream that shimmered like liquid crystal. Eli knelt and drank from it, feeling a strange energy flow through his body. He realized this water was not ordinary. It had properties that energized him and sharpened his senses. He glanced at the glowing animal who drank alongside him and felt a deep connection forming between them. The animal led him to a large, ancient tree with a hollow trunk. Inside, Eli discovered carvings in the wood, symbols similar to those on the stone from the clearing. As he touched them, he felt visions flash through his mind. Images of the planet long ago, of alien creatures living in harmony with the land, and of humans arriving, curious and unprepared. Eli understood, even without words. The planet had been waiting for someone like him. It had been guiding him, teaching him, and now it was revealing its secrets. The glowing animal was not just a creature. It was a guardian, a guide, a messenger. He spent hours exploring the area around the tree, learning to read the symbols and observing the strange creatures nearby. Some creatures were playful, approaching him with curiosity. Others stayed at a distance, cautious but not hostile. Eli realized that the planet's life forms were intelligent in ways humans did not fully understand. As the sun began to set, Eli knew he had to return. He had ventured far and the forest was full of unknown dangers, but he did not feel fear. He felt purpose. The glowing animal led him back toward the clearing, moving quickly but cautiously. Eli followed, careful to remember the path. Before leaving the clearing, Eli looked back at the valley and the ancient tree. He felt a sense of awe and gratitude. This planet was alive, and it had chosen to reveal itself to him. The glowing animal nuzzled him gently, as if acknowledging his understanding. Eli smiled and whispered, "I'll come back, I promise." Returning to the colony was not easy. The forest seemed different in the dim light of dusk, shadows stretching and twisting. Strange sounds echoed around him, calls of creatures, the rustle of leaves, the hum of the planet itself. Eli stayed close to the glowing animal, who guided him safely through the dangers. Finally, he reached the edge of the colony. The lights of human homes twinkled in the distance, and he could hear voices and the clatter of morning chores being done by late risers. The glowing animal paused at the forest's edge, looking at him with its bright, crystal-like eyes. Eli knelt and stroked its soft, luminous fur. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for everything. I won't forget this." The creature made its melodic sound one last time and disappeared into the forest. Eli stood for a moment watching it vanish and felt a pang of longing. But he also felt excitement. He now understood that the planet had secrets, and he had been chosen to discover them. That night, Eli lay in bed unable to sleep. He thought about the glowing animal, the ancient tree, the shimmering valley, and the strange creatures he had seen. He realized that the colony's understanding of the planet was only the beginning. Humans had so much to learn, and he had been given a chance to bridge the gap between their world and the wonders beyond. He closed his eyes, imagining the valley, the glowing plants, and the creatures living in harmony. He could feel the energy of the planet still flowing within him, a warm glow that filled him with courage and curiosity. Eli knew one thing for certain: this was just the beginning. The planet had more to show him, and the glowing animal would guide him. He had to return no matter the risks. There were secrets to uncover, knowledge to gain, and a future to shape, not just for him, but for the colony, for humans, and perhaps for all life on this strange, beautiful planet. The next morning, Eli could hardly wait to return to the forest. He had barely slept, his mind racing with memories of the glowing animal, the shimmering valley, and the strange, singing plants. Today, he would follow the creature even deeper. Today, he hoped to uncover something truly remarkable. As dawn broke, he slipped quietly from his home, careful not to wake anyone. The colony was still half asleep, the air cool and crisp. He moved swiftly, following the path he had memorized, his boots crunching softly on the alien soil. The glowing animal appeared almost instantly, perched on a floating rock above the stream. Its eyes sparkled brightly as if greeting him, and it made the melodic sound that Eli had come to recognize as a call to follow. They moved through the forest together, passing the glowing mushrooms and humming vines that Eli had discovered the day before. But today the forest seemed different. Shadows shifted in strange ways. The light refracted off floating crystals, and the air carried a hum deeper than any sound Eli had heard before. It was as if the planet itself was aware that Eli was returning, aware that he was ready for what lay ahead. Hours passed. The glowing animal led him through twisting paths, over streams that sparkled like liquid diamonds, and past cliffs where floating islands hovered in midair. Eli's heart pounded with excitement and fear. He had never been this far from the colony. Every step felt like a step into a story written long before humans had arrived. Finally, they arrived at a valley hidden deep in the forest. The entrance was narrow, framed by enormous bioluminescent plants whose leaves arched overhead like gates. As Eli stepped through, he gasped. The valley was enormous, filled with structures unlike anything humans had built. Tall towers of shimmering crystal rose from the ground, connected by glowing bridges that seemed to float in midair. Strange machines, partially buried in the soil, pulsed faintly with energy. The light from the plants and crystals bathed everything in a soft, ethereal glow. Eli realized he had stumbled upon a hidden world, a place humans had never seen. The glowing animal bounded ahead, stopping near a large circular structure covered in symbols similar to those Eli had seen on the stone and the ancient tree. He approached cautiously, feeling a mixture of awe and nervousness. The symbols seemed to respond to his presence. As he touched one, a holographic image sprang to life before him. Eli staggered back in shock. He saw visions of the planet as it had been centuries ago. Majestic creatures roaming freely, forests alive with glowing plants, rivers flowing with shimmering water, and beings unlike any humans had ever seen, working in harmony with the land. The vision shifted, showing the arrival of humans. Small ships landed, and colonists began building homes and farms. At first, the alien beings watched curiously. Then the images showed interactions between humans and the planet. Humans struggling to survive, making mistakes, but learning from the land itself. Eli understood what he was seeing. The planet had been guiding humans all along, helping them survive and adapt. The glowing animal nudged him gently, as if urging him to explore further. Eli stepped into the structure, finding a chamber filled with more symbols and devices. Some devices seemed broken, others hummed with energy when he touched them. He realized these machines were not ordinary. They were tools to communicate with the planet, to understand its history and the intelligence behind it. Eli spent hours exploring. He learned that the planet was not just alive in a biological sense, it was intelligent, aware of its surroundings, and capable of guiding life toward balance. The glowing animal was a guardian, a being chosen to help guide humans who were ready to understand. Eli felt honored. He had been chosen for something greater than himself. Outside the chamber, strange creatures moved gracefully. Some approached Eli, curious but cautious. One had wings like glass and eyes that shimmered like liquid silver. It did not seem dangerous, only observant, as if measuring whether Eli was worthy of the knowledge around him. Eli remembered the lessons from the colony: caution, respect, and patience, and he bowed slightly, showing respect. The creatures accepted his gesture and moved on. As he explored deeper, Eli found a large pool of water that glowed from within. Touching the water, he felt energy flow into him, strengthening his mind and body. It was not just physical energy. It was knowledge, intuition, a connection to the planet's life force. The glowing animal stepped beside him, sharing the experience. Eli realized this connection was the key to understanding the planet and its secrets. Then, he noticed something remarkable. Deep within the valley, partially hidden behind glowing vines, was a massive structure that looked like a ship, but unlike any human ship he had seen. It was organic, grown rather than built, blending seamlessly with the valley. Symbols similar to those on the stone, the tree, and the smaller structures covered its surface. Eli could feel the energy radiating from it, a quiet hum that resonated with his own heartbeat. Eli approached carefully, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. He traced the symbols with his fingers, and a doorway opened silently before him. Inside, the ship, or living structure, was filled with more devices, holographic, displays and chambers that pulsed with light. Eli realized this was a center of knowledge, a hub where the planet's intelligence could communicate directly with those ready to learn. The glowing animal nudged him forward, guiding him to a central chamber. There, a massive crystal floated, above a pedestal, glowing brighter than anything Eli had seen. As he touched it, a wave of visions and understanding flooded his mind. He saw the planet's history, its ecosystem, the guardians like the glowing animal, and the ways humans could live in harmony with it. Eli gasped, overwhelmed. The knowledge was immense. How to use energy without harming the land. How to communicate with creatures. How to predict weather and survival patterns. He realized humans could achieve far more if they learned from the planet, instead of trying to dominate it. The glowing animal nudged him again, as if saying, "This is why you were chosen." Eli understood. He was not just exploring for curiosity. He was learning to be a bridge between humans and this world, to help his colony survive and thrive without destroying the delicate balance of life here. He spent hours inside the structure, absorbing as much knowledge as he could. Time seemed meaningless. Every corner revealed new secrets, new insights, and new wonders. He felt alive in a way he never had before, connected not just to the forest but to the planet itself. As the sun began to set, Eli knew he had to return to the colony. He could not stay here forever, and he needed to share what he had discovered, but carefully. Humans were not yet ready to understand fully, and he had to protect the valley and its guardians. The glowing animal led him out of the chamber and back through the valley. Eli memorized every path, every landmark, every glowing plant. He felt a sense of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The planet had trusted him with its secrets, and he would honor that trust. Before leaving the valley, he turned back for one last look. The hidden world shimmered in the fading light, alive and beautiful. The glowing animal nuzzled him gently, as if sharing in his awe. Eli smiled, knowing he would return. There was so much more to learn, so much more to discover. When he reached the edge of the forest, the colony lights twinkled in the distance. Eli felt a strange mix of relief and anticipation. He had returned safely, but his journey was only beginning. The hidden world, the glowing animal, and the ancient knowledge would change everything, not just for him, but for all humans willing to learn. That night, Eli lay in bed, his mind buzzing with visions of the valley, the floating ship, and the crystal of knowledge. He could feel the planet's energy still flowing within him, a quiet pulse that connected him to the forest, the creatures, and the glowing animal. He knew the next step would be even more dangerous and thrilling, but he was ready. Because the hidden world was only the beginning. The planet had more to show him, and Eli would follow, guided by the glowing animal, toward knowledge that could change humanity forever. Eli awoke before sunrise, his mind still buzzing from the visions of the hidden valley and the floating crystal. He could feel the pulse of the planet within him, a quiet rhythm that seemed to guide his every thought. Today, he knew, would be different. Today, he would understand why the glowing animal had chosen him, and what his role truly was. He slipped quietly from his home, careful not to wake anyone. The colony was still silent, the occasional hum of machinery blending with the early, morning breeze. As he approached the edge of the forest, the glowing animal appeared immediately, perched on a floating rock above the stream. Its crystal-like eyes shone brightly, and it made the soft melodic sound Eli had come to recognize. Today, the sound seemed almost urgent. They moved together deeper into the forest, past the glowing mushrooms and singing plants, over streams that sparkled like liquid light. But the forest felt different this time. The air was thicker, charged with energy, and shadows seemed to move in response to their steps. Eli felt a shiver of both excitement and caution. He had been here before, but today the planet itself seemed aware of his purpose. After hours of walking, they reached the hidden valley once more. The floating ship-like structure awaited him, glowing softly in the morning light. Eli stepped inside, feeling the familiar hum of energy and the warmth of knowledge flowing around him. The glowing animal led him to the central chamber, where the massive crystal floated above the pedestal, pulsing gently. Eli placed his hand on the crystal, and immediately, a flood of images and understanding filled his mind. He saw the planet's history in vivid detail, ancient forests, thriving creatures, and intelligent guardians guiding life toward balance. He saw humans arriving, struggling to survive, and slowly learning from the land. But the most striking vision was of the glowing animal itself, a guardian, born from the planet's energy, tasked with guiding humans who were ready to learn and protect the world. Eli gasped, overwhelmed. The glowing animal nuzzled him gently, as if reassuring him. He understood now. He had been chosen to be a bridge between humans and the planet, to learn from the guardians and share that knowledge wisely. It was not just a privilege, it was a responsibility. As the visions continued, Eli saw potential futures. Humans who ignored the planet would fail, their colonies destroyed by their own mistakes. But humans who respected the planet, who learned from its guardians, could thrive and even expand into the stars without harming life. The responsibility weighed heavily on him, but he also felt a surge of determination. He would not fail. The glowing animal nudged him again, guiding him to a console filled with holographic symbols. When Eli touched it, Images of energy sources, survival strategies, and communication techniques appeared. The planet was teaching him practical knowledge, how humans could live in harmony with this world, how they could grow crops without harming the soil, how they could use energy wisely, and how they could communicate with the guardians. Eli spent hours absorbing the knowledge, his mind racing with possibilities. He realized that the glowing animal was not just a guide, it was a teacher, showing him how to think in ways humans had never imagined. The bond between them grew stronger, a connection that transcended species and language. Eli felt the animal's intelligence in his mind, a quiet presence that encouraged him, challenged him, and inspired him. As the sun reached its highest point, Eli decided it was time to test what he had learned. He left the central chamber, moving carefully through the valley. The creatures of the hidden world observed him with curiosity, some approaching cautiously. Eli remembered the lessons from the crystal: respect, patience, and understanding. He bowed slightly, and the creatures accepted his gesture. He approached a group of smaller guardians, creatures similar to the glowing animal but younger and less powerful. They tested him, moving quickly, creating obstacles, and observing his reactions. Eli used the knowledge he had gained. He moved with awareness, predicting their actions and responding with calm and respect. The guardians seemed satisfied, their movements slowing and becoming gentle. Eli realized that this was part of his training, a way for the planet to ensure he could handle the responsibility he had been given. As the day progressed, Eli explored more of the hidden world. He discovered energy conduits flowing with power that could sustain life without harming the environment. He saw communication devices that allowed him to understand the thoughts and intentions of the guardians, and he discovered that the glowing animal could manipulate the planet's energy in subtle ways, helping maintain balance and harmony. By late afternoon, Eli returned to the central chamber, exhausted but exhilarated. The glowing animal greeted him, and for the first time Eli spoke aloud. "I understand. I know what I have to do. I will protect this place. I will help humans learn, and I will make sure nothing harms this world." The animal made a long, melodic sound, almost like a song. Eli felt it in his chest, a vibration that resonated with his heartbeat. It was a promise, a bond, and a recognition of his readiness. He realized that the glowing animal was not just his guide. It was his partner, his ally, and his teacher. As the sun began to set, Eli knew it was time to return to the colony. He had learned much, but he also knew that knowledge without action was meaningless. The planet had entrusted him with its secrets, and he needed to share them carefully, teaching humans to respect and protect this world. The glowing animal led him through the valley, past floating bridges, glowing rivers, and singing plants. Eli moved with confidence, aware of every step and every shadow. The guardians observed him, their eyes reflecting approval and trust. For the first time, Eli felt truly part of the hidden world, a human connected to the planet in a way few others could ever understand. As they approached the edge of the forest, Eli paused and looked back. The hidden valley shimmered in the fading light, alive and beautiful. He felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for the glowing animal but for the planet itself. He understood now that humans were not rulers of this world. They were students, visitors, and partners. And if they learned to respect it, they could achieve great things. When he reached the colony, the sun had set completely. Lights twinkled in the distance, and Eli could hear the faint sounds of human activity. He slipped into his home quietly, careful not to wake anyone. But he could not hide his excitement. He had learned more in a single day than most humans would ever imagine. That night, as he lay in bed, Eli thought about the glowing animal, the hidden valley, and the knowledge he had gained. He realized that his journey was only beginning. There were still secrets to uncover, lessons to learn, and challenges to face. But he felt ready. He had the guidance of the glowing animal, the trust of the planet, and the determination to succeed. Deep in his heart, Eli understood the truth. Humans were not alone. They were part of something greater, connected to the planet, its guardians, and the life it nurtured. And if they chose to listen, to learn, and to respect, they could thrive in ways they had never imagined. Eli drifted into sleep with a sense of purpose. He knew that tomorrow he would begin teaching, exploring, and sharing what he had learned. The glowing animal curled at the foot of his bed, a silent companion and guardian. And in the quiet of the night, Eli felt the pulse of the planet, a steady heartbeat that promised a future full of wonder, discovery, and hope. The revelation was clear. The glowing animal had chosen him not just to explore, but to lead, to guide, and to connect humans with a world that had waited patiently for their understanding. Eli was ready, and the hidden world, with all its secrets and wonders, would change everything. Eli awoke before dawn, excitement and determination filling his chest. Today, he would return to the hidden valley one last time before revealing its secrets to the colony. The glowing animal waited as usual, perched on a floating rock above the stream. Its eyes sparkled, and the familiar melodic sound greeted him like a song. Eli smiled, feeling a bond stronger than words could describe. Together, they moved through the forest, past glowing mushrooms, singing plants, and floating streams. Eli's heart raced, not with fear, but with purpose. He had learned so much in the hidden world. He understood the planet, its guardians, and the lessons it wanted humanity to learn. Today he would begin to share that knowledge. When they reached the valley, the hidden world shimmered under the morning sun. The floating crystal pulsed gently, and the guardians observed Eli with curiosity and respect. He stepped carefully into the central chamber, feeling the energy flow through him. He knew what he had to do, connect the humans to this world carefully so they would understand and respect it. Eli spent the morning preparing. He touched the crystal, calling forth visions and knowledge. Energy flowed into him, sharpening his mind and focusing his thoughts. He recalled everything he had learned, how to use the planet's resources without harm, how to communicate with the guardians, and how to navigate the delicate balance of life here. He practiced speaking aloud, preparing to explain the impossible to humans who had only ever seen this world as a resource or a place to survive. By midday, Eli was ready. The glowing animal nudged him gently and he nodded. It was time to return to the colony. Together they left the valley, moving swiftly but carefully. The guardians watched them go, and Eli felt their trust and encouragement. This was not just his journey, it was theirs too, a shared mission to guide humanity into a new way of living. When they reached the edge of the forest, Eli could see the colony in the distance. Humans moved about unaware of the hidden world just beyond their fields. He felt a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. Could they understand? Would they believe him? He took a deep breath and stepped forward, the glowing animal at his side. At the colony, Eli's arrival immediately drew attention. His father and several adults noticed his unusual expression and the faint glow in his eyes. "Eli, where have you been?" his father asked, concern and curiosity mixing in his voice. Eli smiled, trying to contain his excitement. "I've seen something incredible," he said. "Something that can change everything for us." The adults looked skeptical. Humans were practical, cautious, and often slow to believe what they could not see. But Eli did not hesitate. He guided them to the edge of the forest, where the glowing animal waited. The creature stepped forward, its eyes bright and intelligent. The adults gasped, realizing this was no ordinary animal. It moved gracefully with purpose and intelligence that no human had expected. Eli spoke clearly, explaining everything he had learned. The hidden valley, the guardians, the planet's intelligence, and the ways humans could live in harmony with this world. He showed them visions from the crystal, carefully chosen to convey understanding without overwhelming them. The adults listened, slowly beginning to comprehend the magnitude of what Eli had discovered. Some were skeptical at first. "It's just a trick," one of the elders muttered, a child's imagination. But the glowing animal moved closer, nudging Eli gently. Then, small guardians appeared from the forest, observing humans carefully but without hostility. The adult stepped back, astonished by the intelligence and grace of the creatures. The colony's scientists quickly realized that these beings were not just animals, they were sentient, guardians of the planet, capable of understanding and responding to humans. Eli continued to explain how humans could work with the guardians, how to use the planet's resources responsibly, and how to communicate with life forms they had never understood before. The adults began to see the truth. This was not just an adventure or a story. It was a revelation that could change their colony, and possibly humanity forever. Over the next few days, the colony slowly embraced Eli's teachings. Scientists and explorers returned to the hidden valley under his guidance, learning how to interact respectfully with the guardians and the planet's ecosystem. They observed, took notes, and began to understand the delicate balance that had been maintained for centuries. The glowing animal and its companions became partners, teaching humans how to live without harming the world around them. Eli's father watched with pride. "You were right, Eli," he said one evening as they returned from the valley. "You've shown us a new way to live, one that respects the planet and its life. We could have destroyed it, but you've given us a chance to learn." Eli smiled, exhausted but happy. "It's not just me," he said. "The planet chose the glowing animal and it chose me to learn. We're all part of this now. Humans, guardians, and the planet itself." As the colony adapted, life began to change. Crops grew healthier without chemical interference. Rivers and streams remained pure, supporting both human and alien life. The guardians guided the humans, teaching them when to harvest, where to build, and how to use energy without harm. Humans began to see the forest not as a resource to exploit, but as a partner, a living entity with knowledge and wisdom to share. Eli often returned to the hidden valley, exploring new areas and learning more from the crystal and the guardians. Each visit brought new insights, deepening his understanding of the planet and its energy. He realized that humans were not the rulers of this world. They were students and partners, capable of great achievements if they respected life around them. One evening, as the sun set and the valley glowed with bioluminescent light, Eli stood with the glowing animal at his side. He watched the guardians move gracefully through the valley, their eyes reflecting trust and intelligence. He felt a deep sense of accomplishment. Humanity had begun a new chapter, guided by understanding, respect, and cooperation. The glowing animal nudged him gently, and Eli smiled. He understood now that this was just the beginning. Humans would continue to learn, explore, and grow, guided by the guardians and the planet itself. The hidden world had revealed its secrets, but it was up to humanity to honor them, to live in harmony, and to share the knowledge wisely. Eli returned to the colony, where the adults and children alike looked at him with admiration and curiosity. He shared stories, lessons, and discoveries, carefully explaining how to live in balance with the world around them. The colony thrived, growing stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. The glowing animal became a symbol of hope, a reminder that intelligence, respect, and cooperation could overcome fear and ignorance. Humans and guardians worked together, building a future where both species could thrive. Eli had bridged the gap, showing that courage, curiosity, and understanding could change everything. Years passed, and the colony flourished. Humans learned to read the planet, to predict its patterns, and to communicate with its life forms. The UI Hidden Valley remained a sacred place, a center of learning and cooperation. And Eli, once a curious boy following a glowing animal, became a leader, a teacher, and a symbol of humanity's potential. At night, when the colony was quiet, Eli would stand at the edge of the forest watching the glowing valleys in the distance. The planet pulsed with life and energy, and the guardians moved gracefully, ever watchful. The glowing animal would appear, its eyes reflecting wisdom and trust, and Eli would smile, knowing that humanity had begun a new era, one of understanding, harmony, and hope. The hidden world had changed everything, and Eli had been its guide. Humanity was no longer alone, no longer ignorant of the wonders and responsibilities of life beyond themselves. And as he looked at the glowing valley, he knew that the future was bright, full of possibilities and guided by the lessons of a planet that had waited patiently for humans to learn, respect, and grow. Eli felt a deep sense of peace. The planet, the Guardians, and the colony were all connected, a living network of trust, knowledge, and cooperation. He had followed the glowing animal one morning, and it had led him, and all of humanity, to a future full of hope. The adventure had begun with curiosity, continued with discovery, and ended with revelation. But the story of humans and the hidden world was only beginning. Together, they would explore, learn, and grow, shaping a future where life, in all its forms, could thrive.